Chances in the return leg.
And Aston Villa, Jean-Luc Vialli coming in on the back of that Cup Winners' Cup success, Andy, but he hadn't won a league game at the start of this.
Well, this was always going to be tough for him because I think Villa with a new manager, and they got a good result midweek, as did Chelsea, of course, Richard. But you know, Villa seemed to be up for this one. You look at Steve Staunton's back. Julian Joachim, I think, played instead of Stan Collymore, and this was never going to be easy for Chelsea. And I think that Villa, of the two, have got more to play for. I think there are still points needed for them to feel secure. And this game was going to go a long way.
Looked like Chelsea made most, if not all, of the early running, but warning signs there for Chelsea. Joachim's header.
Yeah, well, we saw some fine goalkeeping today from both goalkeepers. And I think there was some fine goalkeeping in this match as well. But they've worked this well, worked the space well. Doesn't look like he can go anywhere, but somehow, I mean, it's across the goalkeeper into the corner. It's a fine strike.
5 minutes into the second half, so there was time to put the damage right.
Yeah, there was, but I mean, I see some of this defending, and it isn't great. I mean, they're wide open at times. You're relying on Ed De Hoy making one or two very, very this time to keep him in the game. And look at this. I mean, this sort of football, 2 against 1 here. I mean, it's criminal defending, but again, look at the goalkeeper having a right to rocket at them. No, but at 1-0, as we say, you've always got a chance in the game. You've always got to believe you can get back in it. And Zola was presented with him. I think it was Zola. A magnificent opportunity.
Which went
typical
wide.
Of his season, though.
1-0 Villa, great win. Again, I mean, that's 2 on the bounce for them with the European game in between.
I think we think of John Gregory's 3 games. I always thought the first game would take care of itself. It was at home, it was against Liverpool, it was a big game, there was a new manager in charge, and it did. I thought that the midweek performance was excellent away from home in Europe, and not only that, in the back of that, they go down to London, to Stamford Bridge, where not many teams have won this year, and get a magnificent result. And I think that for me, more or less secures their Premiership status for next year, but by miles away.
Well, let's have a look. Let's check the FA Carling Premiership. Palace and Bolton are getting cast adrift, you'd say, looking at that, wouldn't you? But Barnsley, look, with 2 games, you'd have to say are in touch with both Spurs and Everton, surely.
Yeah. I mean, I think Wimbledon have got a huge game on Wednesday night.
Sorry, Barnsley go to Villa on Wednesday.
Barnsley go to Villa on Wednesday, that's a big game. But as I say, I mean, when you look at what Villa have got, Richard, they've got Barnsley at home, Bolton at home and Crystal Palace at home. Now, I think they'll be looking to say, well, even if we don't win those, even if we draw those games, it means that neither of those teams gets any closer to us. So I think that's why I'm saying I think they're well and truly safe now. But when you look at, I think Wimbledon, games in hand are crucial. And this one on Wednesday night, Arsenal still gunning for the title, as we think. That's a huge game for Wimbledon. That will, 3 points there would give them a little bit of breathing space, and then it would just, I think, then commit just Everton and Tottenham to a very worrying last 9 games.
So 2 wins for Barnsley, and they've got to do that, yes. But having seen them play here, you wouldn't bet against it.
There's a spirit about them.
And the two ahead there are in real trouble, aren't they?
Well, without a doubt. I mean, even 2 wins for Crystal Palace, Richard, takes them to 29 and puts a point behind Everton.
That's fair, yeah.
You know, so suddenly then it all squeezes up. But it's tough. You're down there as Crystal Palace, Bolton and Barnsley because you haven't been able to string 2 wins together often in the season. And that's the task that lies ahead of them. If they can do it, great. But the reason they're down there is that they haven't...
It's John Gregory's Villa. It was watched by Gerald Sinstaff.
We've all come back from abroad not quite ready for a day at the office, so there had to be some sympathy for these two returning to work on a Sunday afternoon. But Julian Joachim's header established that Ed De Hoy was wide awake. The Steve Staunton corner in Chelsea's defence gave Villa another chance. Ian Taylor wasted it. Goalless at half-time. Soon afterwards, though, Lee Hendry's persistence won him the chance to find Mark Draper. And then the ball went on to Joachim. 1-0, thanks to the man who was in the line-up in place of the injured Stan Collymore. Villa, who had 2 days more than Chelsea to recuperate from their travels, kept making chances. Joachim setting up this one for Dwight York. Late in the game, Chelsea reinforced a somewhat unfamiliar lineup by sending on Gianfranco Zola, but Mark Bosnich dealt confidently with the Italian's free kick. Nor was there any joy from Zola's corner, Frank Leboeuf heading over. Most of Joachim's appearances this season have been cameo roles from the bench. Maybe he felt he had a point to prove. But for De Hoy's legs, he might have done so even more emphatically. Last chance for Chelsea to avoid a fourth successive league defeat without a goal scored. Torre-Andre Flo leads the charge. His pass finds Zola, but the shot doesn't find the target. So John Gregory remains 100%.
We need at least another 6 points from our remaining games. At least 6, I think, will be possibly a safety margin, and 42 points. But of course, you know, I just want to win every game, to be honest. It's gone okay so far, but I'm waiting for the bubble to burst. So I'm just preparing myself for that in many respects.